is that the best backup is given by parents by having just the right attitude. A long series of lectures is definitely not required at that time. Like you said, that when we can raise one emotion, it can be 2x in them. It's so right. I can understand what you must have seen in any teenager, not just your little one. What I would want to say is that here, are we also not having a kind of shift? Because when is it that we have a teenager at home? It's generally at this vulnerable age of middle age. We parents also need to see that we are also going through a transition, be it in professional transition, be it in our own physiological transition from a young adult to the mid adult range. There is so much that we need to also work with our own selves. So when we start looking inwards, it becomes easy for us to develop this ambience of having the right attitude. And trust me, this is something that is definitely going to work in every home. It's not about losing it. It's all about becoming aware and just developing an attitude. If we start developing the habit of getting angry, then you will find that we are constantly losing it. And that is where the friction can start. I'm just giving you an example. A friction can start between mother and son, or mother and daughter, or father and son, father and daughter. It could be any parent, but I'm just telling you that, or it could be both father and mother and the children. That's, another loud noise happening in the living room. So what I would want to indicate is that this is recommended for both the teenagers as well as the parents to understand that we need to look inwards, because even there is a lot of change that is happening within you. You are also equally important during this phase of your life. You cannot get very fatigued, just running this rat race and trying to train and tune your teenager. There's another way of doing it, and that is called as being in control.
Yeah. So, I think I agree with what you said totally, especially when it comes to keeping our level of emotions in control, because we understand why we should control, and we also probably understand with experience how we can control both ways. But it's, in this whole process, I think as parents, many of them will also have this problem of how do you discipline a child, especially at 10 you feel, oh, he's too young, okay, this will happen. At 12 you feel, okay, he's getting a little more older, she's getting a little more older, but I think she will learn on her own. But then at 13 you really don't see so much of discipline coming in. So maybe at 15 you still don't feel the discipline you wanted to see in your child, but he may be disciplined. So there may be different perspectives to the understanding. So maybe a small suggestion from your side which says, how can we help better discipline in a child?
I see. So when we talk about discipline, it's just one thing. There's nothing like better. There's nothing like differences. There is discipline or there is no discipline. There's just two ways about this whole concept called discipline. But do you agree that even when we are discussing discipline, there is the add-on of our own culture, our family values, so many things that come into picture. Within a family, you will find that the meaning of discipline is also specific to certain things. There is a certain discipline when it comes to gadgets, gadget time, TV time, so many things that starts. And it starts right from childhood. It was very nice of you to bring in the idea that when we parents are looking at something referred to as in the lines of indiscipline, for me as a parent, it is in the lines of indiscipline, but I feel that, okay, he's a little one or she's a little one, it's okay. When he or she grows up, it should be fine, or I will correct him then and there. But you know what? These little kids have developed a habit And then when it is in the teenage time, we suddenly expect and we start, dropping huge bombs of techniques of, hey, this is wrong, that is not right, this is discipline, you are so indisciplined. Where is it coming from? It's coming from habit. So should we allow habits to be formed? Some things which is not approved. Like I said, it's a very, very culture bound, family bound area, which is not very generic at all. We cannot talk. I cannot talk about my value system here. I need to respect what parents believe and how they want their child to grow up or their children to grow up. So, having said this, shouldn't it be a very beautiful way of, see, when we talk about feeding, then we understand that the quantity cannot be that it increases consistently through age. We understand that even today, diet is constantly spoken in terms of being hungry, being fed adequately, or being fed the right kind of things. So there are foods which is referred as breakfast food, lunch food, dinner food. Why is all this given so much of respect in every home? It's just because we want the best for our child in his or her growing stages. Similarly, when it comes to what is the need for discipline? When it comes to what is this discipline that I want my child to imbibe, then it is the same way. We'll have to, draw a long track where our child should just walk this track and should understand that, hey, this is my family system and my family values. So disciplining cannot be sudden when I feel that now my child is grown up and so I have to run behind him or her with a stick. Well, today parents do not do that, but they sit and feel miserable that, oh, my child is not able to understand when I'm trying to discipline him. But it is not that way at all. You don't have to do it that way. You need to basically, even here, I'll use this word attitude, the attitude of parents and how the system is at home. We call a home system, you know. Just before we started this session, I was just talking to you, Dr. Vasudha, that how I just moved from one room to the other and I had to make certain arrangements. And I don't like this arrangement. Why? Because I'm so used to a very nicely organized space where I sit and I talk. I have a nice mounted stand. So here now, this discomfort is constantly there in my head. So if such things should not be there in my child's life, then we need to have right things in the right place. We cannot have it all over the place. Similarly, even if such a small shift is bringing about a kind of disturbance within me, like I was just telling you, moving from one room to the other and not so happy and comfortable here in this screen space, our children must be given to understand how much we value what we have, bought and developed as a family. We buy every small thing in order to make a materialistic world, and we buy every strong belief in order to make our mental world. So our children definitely must be part of this culture, that home culture. So we do not have a extra chapter called disciplining because it can just form consistently through the years of growing, and it cannot be a sudden shift where in childhood we believe in pampering, and after that suddenly in teenage we start becoming very strict and stringent with, no, now this is not allowed. Or I have certain kind of systems, and I don't want my child to have those systems. These things will definitely cause, because they are our own, and they will not mince words in questioning. So they'll say, but if you can do it, why can't I do it? So is it a part of discipline or not? And you will find that there are so many things where the child learns that, okay, there is an age where everything can be done. So all this, how does it come? It comes from transparency at home. It comes from the kind of system we have at home. It comes from the kind of quality time that we give. All this actually can bring about discipline in the right sense. So disciplining is not like where suddenly I have a list of 10 things which I don't approve in my child. How can it be so suddenly there? It has been there probably earlier, which I neglected earlier as a mother. And now I feel that it is, strongly burdening me, my head, and my whole family and my whole social system. So, discipline is a very, very simple and a subtle way of making our child recognize what is good and what is bad, because most often the child is indisciplined or wrong by knowing that this is wrong, knowing the difference between right and wrong, and still continuing to be adventurous and doing those things. And that is when there is so much of discomfort at home that need not be there. Trust me, it's not that difficult, also. Yes.
Correct. What you're saying is very true. So this is probably, the reason for stress at both the parental level and
Parents,
at
yes.
the
And the,
teenager,
yes,
both.
and the
Yes.
teenager. True.
And what we have also noticed and the experience is, see, we feel we also, everybody knows, the child is usually growing up watching the parents, and then where are they going to imbibe all this from? Obviously, from the most watched people who are the parents. But in this era of, say, Instagram, a child is always prone to get influenced by a lot of things happening, whether it's social media, internet,
Yes.
basically right now. So parents also have to be ready somewhere to see some transition in their child. But there was a very interesting question which we have got also, the same lines, that there is a cultural change which we see, which is not very close to what probably we were brought up with when we were in our 20s. But right now, what's the kind of adaptation which parents have to do, and how can it bring down the stress at the parental level, and of course at the teenager also, and this will definitely influence family then. So, based on your experience, I'm sure you would have got some cases or parents reaching out to you for mobile addiction or internet issues, which are major one of the segment of complaints right now. But otherwise, also, if you look at lower level issues, then you see this probably picking up as one other. I would say an NCD, which is not a non-communicable disorder, but it's a very highly communicable disorder. So, any points to add there?
Yes. The first and foremost thing is, when it comes to the media, any form of social media, one is about the using, second is about dependency, and third is becoming an addict. Well, this trend is both among the parent generation as well as teenagers, or even younger than them today. I don't even want to say teenagers, because even younger than them, I have seen clients, I've seen families coming from other states, living here, trying to work with their child's addiction to this level. That means, how much have we neglected? Where did we not draw the line that it is in this stage of being an addict? The first and foremost thing is, trust me, all of us parents are constantly aware of how intelligent our child is. We're very aware of, involving that intelligence in saying that, hey, you can do well, you can do better, study for your exams and things like that. If our children use the social media, any platform, for knowledge or for entertainment, then they have to be intelligent consistently, not to become slaves and victims. When they become addicts, then they are at that stage where they have completely surrendered and they are a victim there, and they're not actually processing most of what they are seeing. That is when they are at the addict level. So, be it gaming addiction, be it any other form of social media addiction, much before the addiction, when there is a consistent usage, at that time, a whole lot of positive changes can be brought about. And this is much more healthy and easy for the child to work with, for her or him to work with. So once we have not put a stop, and we are very happy that the child is sitting in one place. So it starts in early and late childhood period. Child is sitting in one place. We feel that, oof, not disturbing anybody, and such things. And then later, we don't want the same issue happening. We are so irritated. Why is this child consistently and locked up in his or her room? Today, thanks to everybody's financial growth, everybody has decided that our children must have their own individual rooms. And in this, there is enough space for me to lie to my own self and to lie to the world. Because if I'm very aware of what I'm doing, even a teenager, even from the age of 13 onwards, every teenager is able to understand that I have been excessively using this, whatever platform. I've been watching a series, I've been doing it excessively. This is something that can come to anybody's mind, just like how children can say, I'm tired of studying during exams. They become aware of it. I'm tired, I've done too much of mathematics, I've studied too much of this. When they can say that, it's the same thing, that's the same intellectual process that is working in order to say that I've been watching this too much. But then why do they sit and binge? It's the same similar kind of a concept which most parents can understand, that a child will say, I'm full while eating a very nutritious meal, but can constantly keep eating packets and packets of, let us say, wafers, potato chips, or something like that. So this binge eating, binge watching, is it that the child is not aware of? There is a very strong sense of, I need to stop. That discipline that I was talking about, which if it is inculcated like a habit, like a practice, then you will find that children know when to stop. They like watching, they do it openly, not in the hiding, and they also know when to stop. That's a very beautiful way of growing. Let them have some kind of fun, a little amount of entertainment. They know what they are watching. They will not go to those uh, uh, programs and those kind of shows where they know that, hey, this is a lie. Why do I want to even sit down and see something that is so nonsensical? It doesn't make any sense. Today, a lot of teenagers are so aware that watching pornography is just rubbish, while there are so many of them who are addicted to it. Most parents don't even know that, because they don't even talk about all this in the open. So talking about anything that is healthy, unhealthy, and what is done for a small pleasure and comfort, what is a bad habit, if once it is brought into awareness, I'm sure it becomes easy for a child to use his or her intelligence, a teenager to use his or her intelligence and get out of it.
Correct. No, very valid point, and I think we should learn not to apply too many filters with our children, and we should also give them the confidence that, okay, if you have a problem or if you want to share something, we're always there with you. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think if we inculcate that, they come back, because I also see that, my son comes back and he wants to share something in school. So he even shares that, okay, our class and our senior class had a fight today. Probably he shares that because he feels, okay, and we are not going to be really troubling him, saying, okay, why did you fight, and that's not good, etc. So somewhere we also have to show that openness. But yes, sometimes still things might go unnoticed, so everything is not in our hands. So I think we've discussed a lot about different situational issues, and we can definitely go on this topic. It's a very large topic to explore, and it is a topic where people can explore there, also because there's so many questions related to parent-child relationship, especially when it comes to teenagers. But it will be good to give away certain practical approaches to dealing these situations as well. Like, you have been a very holistic, psychologist, so when it comes to this, you can probably suggest what else you would
Yes.
suggest apart from counseling when it comes to, say, a case of stress. Especially this is the phase, many children are finishing up exams, some are still giving, even a 10th standard exams is still going on for some of them. And then if they're in class 12, they come up with competitive exams. And what I have
Yes.
seen, whether it is parents, mostly, they feel, okay, if we tell them to do yoga, no, he has so much to study or she has so much to study. An hour of yoga, or even forget about an hour, half an hour of yoga, like you're going to eat away so much of time. So, any, what about suggestions from your end on handling stress, especially?
Okay. So to handle stress, now when you were talking about one, you're probably talking about the academic stress that comes because of the pressure of examinations and to do well, because most often this is the age bracket where they are in their 10th, and we need to really showcase our 10th marks, because today that's one thing which nobody wants to deny. They may say, no, 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 I'm okay, whatever my child gets, but still we want to see a very nice looking marks card there. Well, the first and foremost thing, like I said, the home ambience really matters. So if our children understand what is the difference between being disciplined and what is the difference between being open and transparent at home, where does it start? Like I said, the tips for having discipline in our children is not something that we should start when our child is entering into teenage. Let's do it right from the start. And most often, this is an attitude which is translated from elders to our children. So let it be of one kind. If we are trying to inculcate some discipline in our children, let it be always there with everybody at home. That is when the harmony is maintained. Talking about stress, the other reason for the stress to increase in any teenager will be when the child is either trying to put his or her best foot forward and not able to maintain the pace, and there is pressure also from the outside, external pressure. Here, if we stand as good support systems, you will find that the child is able to understand that I can develop a life of my own. I don't need to succumb to any kind of an external pressure. The tips that you were asking, what should it be for these teenagers who are basically facing exams? The first and foremost thing is, across the world, this is the age where every teenager is basically in their 10th, 11th, or 12th standard. Now, when everyone can do it, then I can do it. This is basically the first rule, underlying concept that every child must believe in. Now, when we talk about even parents trying to say that just put your 24 hours and 100% into academics. Here, I would want to correct every parent that overindulging in anything is wrong, is what we were talking about when we were talking about a bad health habit. So I was talking about, there is something called as usage, there is something called as, becoming an addict, which is in the other extreme, and dependent is in between. So like that, can we actually make it the best of our child just because a child is sitting for 24 hours in front of his or her books and preparing? Trust me, no. This is something where you will find that it has very, very short-term effects, and what we want in our child is to groom with knowledge,